don't know I don't know how to work this new IG. True story. Hey y'all. Tiffin, hi. I'm so excited.
Hello.
Hello, gorgeous. How are you?
How are you? You are looking mighty. I'm turning off all my gadgets here. You're fine. Hold on. Okay. You are looking mighty nice today. Everybody, I've done a couple of these, and I'm like, I'm the one that's not dressed up.
No, I literally I have on pajama pants underneath here and some socks.
Oh, okay.
And I just
Uh,
threw these on. I didn't do a face or nothing. You look great.
Thank you. You too. I'm
Yeah,
excited to have a
I am
conversation.
too. How was your day?
It's been a very busy day, but it's been a good day. I'm
Yeah.
not used to, well, I won't say used to because it normally is colder, I guess, but I was hoping this summer. We
Yeah.
had a mild summer though, but so I think we're going to have a mild winter. I don't think we're going to have too bad of a winter.
I
We'll see.
know. I know.
We'll
Hold on,
see.
let me get some water. And then
Okay.
we're gonna start. Oh, it's been a day. Yeah. But
Just Monday.
this I know. You have to try this. This is the best. Hydrate
What?
on water. It's
Okay.
water with like electrolytes. It's the bomb.
Ah,
It's,
I've never seen
it's
that
really
brand.
good. Yeah, it's good. It's new. It's good though.
Okay.
That's what I
Is
drink.
it local based?
It's coming down here. It's working its way. It's working
Okay.
its way. It's working its
So
way.
is it
Yep.
online now? Online.
You can definitely get it online,
Okay.
and order it and stuff like that. Yep. You can definitely
Okay.
get it online and order it. So yeah. But 7-Eleven, all that stuff, it's good.
Yeah. Black
So
owned
I think
company?
it is a black owned company. And I'm so
Ah,
happy. I'm the ambassador. I was like, yes, it's black owned
yes.
water. Sheldon Green is
Yes.
awesome. It's
Yes.
awesome. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, but okay,
Love
I
it.
guess we can start. A lot of people are starting to trickle in because they saw that I posted in the Facebook group. We have a Facebook group, so I
Ah,
posted, and they're bringing their way over here. So whatever. So first, I just want to say thank you for coming on the budget. The purpose of budget is honestly to just to discuss generational wealth. I'm 30 years old, and it's a
okay.
lot of people in my generation that we are not. Some of us are just not financially literate when it comes to things.
It's not
And
just your generation, but okay.
you're right, you're right. And but I'm
Yeah.
noticing, like, the people I hang around, it's like we want so much, but compared to other generations, what's going on is that we're not used to. We have this new light of social media, and this new light of social media is making us want to, I guess, keep up with the Joneses, as you could,
Mm-hmm.
as some people will say.
Yep.
And
Cloud
it's not a,
chasing, all of that.
yes,
Uh-huh.
clout chasing, trying to get the likes and trying to get all that stuff when it's really not necessary. So it's like the purpose of Budget University was that I was like, you know what, I want to teach my people how to save money and how to
Mm-hmm.
use money for different things and to
Absolutely.
build generational wealth, because now it's popular to, either have a child out of wedlock, or, you're single, and being single is real popular now. So we can't really depend on a man. So a lot of my clientele for Budget University is females. And a lot
Mm.
of them are emailing me like, Shelby, like, I'm a single mom, or I'm single and I'm trying to do this, or I want to buy a house, but I don't want to buy a house. I want to wait for a man. And I'm like,
Mm-mm.
no, get it now. So
Yeah.
I just wanted you to come on to give your expertise on what your definition really is of generational wealth.
Well, I don't know that I have expertise in the finance area, but certainly, but my expertise is kind of in nonprofit space and policy
Yes,
and politics. And so,
yes.
certainly, when I think of generational wealth, that is making sure to do all of the things that you've named, whether that's through whatever vehicle, whether that's
Mhm.
through real estate, through instruments that someone has set up, a trust fund, or if they're leaving an LLC to their children, whatever instrument someone is using, to make sure that they are leaving some type of wealth, some type of money for their family members that are behind them. In my case, I don't have kids, and so I don't have children that I would per se leave it to, but certainly my nieces and nephew,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and family, that you want to leave a legacy, right?
Yes.
And so we all want to do something between those dashes, between the dash in our lives that matters. But certainly you want to, you want to have a legacy of love, but then you also want to have a legacy that your family members can live off of, quite honestly. Many times, especially in Black and Brown communities, when our loved ones pass away, you will sometimes find that if there even has been money left, that, we're now in probate court and trying to figure
Right.
out who has the rights to that property, who has the rights to that land, and so,
And that
or
could
to
take
that
forever.
business. Correct. It does. And so, you just want to make sure that you are doing all that you can do, that your family and your children have something tangible, a legacy that they can carry on after you have departed from this life.
Yes. And I feel like that is important because a lot of us, I guess we don't think that death doesn't have an age on it. You could pass away
Absolutely.
at any age, any given
Yeah.
moment. And the last thing you want is fighting over property or a car,
Any kind of
anything
asset.
materialistic.
Right.
And that's why I feel like it's important that we stress the purpose of a will or anything in that aspect. With like, I bought a house at 29, so I was like, my mom was like, well, go ahead and get a will. I'm like, a will? And it didn't make
Yes.
sense to me, but I was like, you know what, I do need to go ahead and get a will because it doesn't matter what age.
Right. And making sure that you are updating the will, right? And we just
Yes.
saw in Kobe Bryant's case, for instance, that his wife and his widow, that she had to petition the court to make sure, because they have a very young
The youngest.
child, that they were in the
Mm-hmm.
process of adding to that will, and they didn't have the opportunity to complete that process. And so she was able to successfully win in court, and she's able to now add her youngest child to that will. But yeah, certainly making sure that you have a will, and that you're updating that will as you get new property, as you get a new business that you bring online. And you may think, some people may think like, oh, I just created this LLC, I just created this company, it's not making money. But then it may become wildly successful and you forget to go
Mm-hmm.
back and add it. So you want to make sure just that as you bring new things online, that you're taking the time to add that to the wheel.
Right, right, right. Is there any advice you could give us on the policy standpoint of
Yeah,
finances?
sure. So
I'm
what
gonna
I
write
would
some
say,
stuff down.
okay, what I would say from a policy standpoint, and that is that we have policies at our local levels, at the state level, and then at the federal level. And so 2020, I think, has slowed a lot of people down, opened a lot of new horizons for individuals, and people are pivoting. I think that's the one word of 2020, pivot. Everybody's learning how to pivot in career and family, just in personal and professional space, right? And so as it relates to policy, one of the things that really was first of mind when you asked me about this, and that I experienced as a council member, I'm a former council member in Dallas, Texas. And one of the things, and I represented the poorest, a part of the district that I represented, South Dallas
Mm-hmm.
proper, had two of the poorest zip codes, not just in the city of Dallas, but in all of North Texas, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that I just experienced on a daily basis in terms of constituents reaching out to the office for help was what we see happening in cities all across the United States. And that is that Big Mama, Pawpaw, or Mama or Daddy passes away. And you were the only, if you were the heir and had rights to that property, or they left it to you in a will or some other instrument, that we have seen a lot of young people that have sold that property for $5,000, $10,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, well, what happened to the block? Yeah, the block has been sold to others, right? And so just making sure that you are keeping that real estate in the family, I think
Mm-hmm.
is very important. And how that, you know, relates back to policy is that there are just a number of policies that are on the book. We know from redlining and other policies that have hurt us and kept us from having generational wealth in particularly the Black community and poorer communities, as we see our communities redlined, and many policies that are on the books. As I often say, you know, we want to undo unjust laws that were unjust in the first place. And so
Mm-hmm.
what I think we can do is just making sure that we are staying active in our communities, that we're participating in changing those policies. The power, the people have all the power because we are electing those that are setting those policies. And so just making sure that, you know, we are looking at the policy. When you look at HUD, a lot of people look at HUD property is just, oh, I'm going to go get a voucher and rent some property, right? And sometimes HUD, you can get a house and people don't know that, and you can use it to help buy a home,
Mm-hmm.
so that you are getting a real estate portfolio and that you are owning some property. And so just making sure that those policies are right as it relates to economic development. That's very helpful in building generational wealth, right? Because you know, as we look at the policies that relate to developers in our community, and that we don't just have, you know, certain types of businesses in our neighborhoods, that we have businesses that are helping to uplift our neighborhoods and help add value to our neighborhoods. And so there are policies that shape that, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
called zoning laws. And so you want to make sure that we're paying attention to zoning laws. And then I think lastly, policy. And then also there are policy that sets up, for instance, in the city of Dallas at Fair Park. Many people, especially younger people, don't know. You know, we have I don't know what the new name is, but the Jexa Pavilion. It's been through several names, but the amphitheater where concerts are held over at Fair Park. Back when that amphitheater naming rights were sold, one of the things that as a community and a council member at the time, and I had an opportunity when I was on the park board to go and revamp that policy, is that a certain percentage of every ticket sale at that theater goes right back into that community, and it goes into a trust fund that business owners
Mm-hmm.
can then go and help them start their businesses. And so that helps with generational wealth. And so just making sure that we are setting up those type of policies that, you know, help us build equity. They're equitable policies in our community, and just help us to really set up those businesses, to have the funding for those businesses. There are cities and there's state funding sometimes, and there is CDBG funding, which is a federal community development block grant funding that comes back into municipalities that help first-time homeowners
Yeah.
be able to access funding. And so all of this relates back to policy, right? And we have to make sure that we have the right people in office that understand the right type of policy that we need.
Yeah, and you know, it's important because you know, I had several friends whose grandparents passed away or parents have passed away, and the first thing they did was sell the house. And after they
Yep.
sell the house, they're like, I didn't even do nothing with the money that I really could have done. And
Yep.
it's like, yeah. Or we're not keeping up with family businesses as a tradition. We're so quick to sell them and then we're stuck
Yep.
and we don't have a source of income. And now it's like we're seeing, well, how are people getting this? How are people getting that? And people are actually learning now about passive income. Because
Very
when
important.
my grandmother passed away, we had a house in Coconut Grove in Miami, and we were like, well, what are we going to do with it? So there's different options that you can do. If you're going to sell it, like you said, with trust fund, put it in a trust fund. Just don't
Mm-hmm.
go and, like my one friend sold grandmother's house, bought a car, and spent money on just stupid stuff, going
The
out to eat and going on trips
depreciating value. Yes.
and going on trips. And
Wow.
after the trips, it's like I really could have bought a house.
Yes, and that's what we see happening in some communities, you know, where individuals have grown up in that community, and now we see gentrification happening in cities, especially right in communities that are near the city core.
Mm-hmm.
Where those communities are changing and gentrification is creeping in, some places slowly, some places quicker than others. But then you will see that family member, you know, they may sell their house for a quick $10,000 and then it has been sold for 300,000.
Yeah.
You know, once someone comes in and fixes it up and possibly tears it down, they go access funding from government funding that is available to developers, build up a nice new property, and now you're looking like, what just happened? What did I just miss out on? And so yes, definitely really paying attention to that and holding on to that property for as long as you can, I think is very, very important.
Yeah, because with different areas like South Dallas and all those other areas, it's Dallas is growing as a whole, anyways. So it's like you might have this house that was purchased or that's 50,000, and they're gonna tear it down. But I think a lot of people are also understanding that it's not only important to just own the property, but you also want to own the land that it's on, because they're
Absolutely.
coming back. Yeah, they're coming back and they're tearing it down, and they're going to build $1 million townhouse or a $600,000 townhouse on that house. And that's why I felt like with budget, it's important that we educate people, because some people are going out to those areas because they feel like, oh, African Americans aren't educated, they don't have this. And when I was in Coconut Grove area, I remember they knocked on my grandmother's door and they said, oh, we'll give you 150,000 cash for your house right now. And
Mm-hmm.
I looked and I was like, do I look stupid? Like, this house is worth 400 and something. No. But
Right.
that's how they're doing it.
Yes, they
And
are really preying, as you said, particularly on seniors, but certainly
yes.
in poorer communities where they feel like, you know, these folks, and you'll see them sometimes pull up and they're literally like going door to door knocking, and we want to buy your house. And sometimes, especially in a time like this where individuals have been laid off from their jobs, they are facing some extreme circumstances, some
Mhm.
individuals. And so you know, your mind may not be as clear. And it's just like, oh, okay, you know, I need to get out of this house. Let me just sell it because I need this money right now.
Mhm.
Right. And so that's another space where policy comes into place, because we've got to do a better job as cities and as states in just educating individuals and providing opportunities for help. You know, we are in the middle of a pandemic, and people and you know, some places have stopped their moratoriums on evictions. And so, yeah, if someone's facing a mortgage that hasn't been stopped or an eviction from an apartment, I guess that's not home ownership, but either situation, and someone knocks on that door and says, I'm willing to purchase this house for $100,000, and I may not, and you know, maybe it's helping me get me from an upside down deal as well. And so people will say, yeah, sure. And we have to do a better job of having programs that they can access help, and they can, you know, we can do homeowner training and first time
Mhm.
homeowner education workshops and things like that. And that there are funds that are accessible to help individuals in counseling. And just like you're doing with Budget University, that we're doing the credit counseling, because many times we will find ourselves in situations and we get there and it's like, okay, now what? Okay, I'm a homeowner, but I didn't know I was going to have to fix all of this up. And I didn't know it was going to
Right.
cost this much money. I didn't know I needed a fund kind of set aside for HOA or whatever. And so just making sure that we are doing a better job of, you know, educating and having the programs available for individuals to access.
Mhm. So, and I liked how you said we need more programs. So with Budget University, what we're doing is that we're trying to go out in the community to start setting up some things and get some sponsors going, because you know better, you do better for anybody now.
Absolutely.
So it's important that we go out and we have these classes. And I feel like it starts with just saving. Like, okay, let's just save a little bit here and know what to do. If you were given 200, 300, 400, $500, it also goes into knowing the difference between assets and liabilities. What is an asset? What is a liability? What am I actually going to gain value from? Not the new Jordans, not some
Right.
Bibles, not not a purse. I have to go where my money's going to multiply. And I feel like that's what's important.
Absolutely. And I think you are absolutely correct. I saw how you are helping people to save. I know for me, that's not something I've traditionally done. I've done more of that in the last 3 or 4 years.
Mhm.
As I said early on, it's not just your generation. It's a lot of generations. But yes, absolutely making sure that you are saving and putting that money back. Again, I think 2020 has just taught us a lot of lessons. So certainly this is one of those instances where, yes, you needed some money probably put aside for some, work. For me as an entrepreneur, I was doing a lot of events. And so that work slowed down and really came to a halt in the
Mhm.
pandemic, because obviously nonprofits are not having events. It took them a little while to kind of learn how to pivot and do some virtual events for fundraisers and things of that nature. So we had to figure out how to campaign in these political races a little different. When you couldn't get out and do some door knocking and have some one-on-one events, you've got to figure out how to redo that and rework that. So certainly, I know many need that help that Budget University and you are given through Budget University in terms of saving and just knowing that it is a simple thing to do. It just takes some dedication, some sacrificing. Sometimes you don't stop to have that happy hour, or you don't stop to go have that expensive meal. Sometimes you do
Yeah.
it 4 times instead of 5 times or whatever. So absolutely.
Yeah, and that to me, that's what's important, because it's like and I've also noticed that I like with me doing budget, it's pushed me more to want to save money. I'm like, oh, I was
Mhm.
like, I gotta be the leader anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and save. I'm not gonna go here, I'm not gonna go there. And then cooking more too. So I love
Absolutely.
it because I'm cooking more, I'm doing everything that I need to do to save money, so it's even better. And I feel like if someone takes a stand, then everybody else, if some people are gonna follow, then those people are going to follow, and it's going to set a trend.
Mm-hmm.
And then last thing I wanted to discuss was, it's, to me, it's unfortunate because in certain areas, it's like they're tearing down the housing,
Mm-hmm.
especially subsidized housing. And for me, that it's hard for that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, where does that transition, where do they go with that transition once it's torn down and there's nothing else they could do?
Yeah, so again, that's the tough spot. And so I know I dealt with that issue a few times while I was on the city council. And so, and I've seen that happen since I've been off the city council. And unfortunately, in many places, especially in states like Texas, we don't have the policies that we need from a local level. And you are, in essence, controlled by policies that are happening at the state level. And so we may vote as a local body to allow people. So for instance, if the city, wanted to do a pipe project in a neighborhood, and they need to buy 5 houses on that street to clear the land to do the project. Um, a person may say, I don't want to sell my house. Well, then you're looking at eminent domain, where a governmental body can come in and, in essence, have a taking of a property. And what we see happening, and I think that speaks to maybe possibly some of the projects, they may not have been for a governmental purpose. And so maybe those individuals just got bought out. And I think of a business owner that I just thought about over on Ross Avenue, who, that's where you see a lot of the high rises going up in Dallas. And they zoned him out. And so again, that's a zoning policy. And he had to get out of his bill. He had so much time that he had to, move his business. And he had been there for, I think, a couple of decades. And it's like we never see that property owner, whether it's residential or commercial, many times get the value that they need. And so they may say fair market value for your house is 50,000 and this is what you're going to get. Well, we know in reality, they can't go and build another house for 50. Where are they going to do that at? Nowhere.
Right.
And so, it really gets into a situation where we have to really go back and revamp some of these policies, again, unjust policies. And so I know, even from the standpoint, just in terms of how we notify homeowners about eminent domain, I was able to change that policy in the city of Dallas because a resident in my district reached out and said, I didn't know about it. And it's like they just come and bulldoze you. You haven't had time to get a lawyer. You maybe couldn't afford a lawyer. And so many times you don't know, and you find yourself stuck in the situation. And so you know, there are some places where policy is in place to help people like that. It may even be a situation where I live in an apartment complex I don't own, I'm renting, but the developer, the owner has chosen to sell to someone else, and we've got 30 days to get out of this situation. And there are some cities where they have written in their policies that you have to, as the apartment owner, provide them with the ample time as well as compensation to be able to relocate. But many places we are blocked. You know, state legislation doesn't allow the city to come up with that. And so it's unfortunate, but there are thankfully some nonprofits out there that help with tenants' rights, that help homeowners, you know, walk them through that legal process or walk them through whatever process it is that they're going through.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, so it's exciting work. It is exciting to see. Congratulations to you on
Thank you.
launching Budget University. You know, I always say I am encouraged by the millennial generation. Y'all just get out there and go make a seat at the table. You go figure it out. And so I just want to say thank you to you. We are all watching. We know that we all need the education, you know, as it relates to the credit counseling in terms of building generational wealth, but that it just takes, you know, all of us being engaged in that process. So thank you for all of your work, Soror, on
Thank
what
you
you
for
are
coming,
doing.
Soror. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.